Well, thank you for that and sharing all of that great information. I know everybody's excited. I'm excited about what's getting ready to happen. I know the community is excited. Just can't wait for the tour to start up. Matter of fact, it should be a little bit longer than what we're actually providing this time, but I look forward in the future that the tour is of several days rather than just that one day. So once again, we're really excited about that, and now I guess our historian will share some information about the area of Pritchard, and particularly in terms of Whistler being that historical area of this town.
Well, Worcester, well, the early settlers in Worcester was a Davidson family and Eckford family. Eckford, excuse me. And I'm pretty sure they're buried in the old Worcester Cemetery on Main Street. And in the Methodist Church where the tour will start, carpenters of Jerry Davidson, Frank Eckford, and Billy Cato built the pews and altar and pulpit furniture in that church. And it says, and others, but I don't know who the others are, but they are buried in the Worcester Cemetery. And one of the old ministers was a chaplain in the Confederate Army, a medical doctor in Worcester, and also in 1868, 1870, was minister of the church, which the church was not built till 1880, 85, 86. And it's, well, and the oldest business in Pritchard was the old Peterson store, which burned in 1970, I think 71. And that was the oldest building business in Pritchard and Worcester. And in 1970, there was, I can't remember the exact number, but in 1970, there was about 150 or 60 houses built, were over 100 years old in 1970. So Worcester is an old community. It was a railroad town. Casey Jones was a real person, and Mr. Jack Peterson told me one time that their house on Watley Street was originally built as a two-story rooming house, and Casey Jones roomed in that house. And the same person built St. Bridget's Catholic Church, built the Methodist Church. His name was Vanderslice. And Casey Jones apparently was Protestant, and his wife-to-be was Catholic, and he converted to Catholicism in that church, with the historical marking from the church notes that. So there's a lot of history in Whistler, and I'm a lifelong resident of Whistler and proud to be a lifelong resident of Whistler. And I'm proud of Whistler, and I'm proud of Pritchard. And it's changed a whole lot in my lifetime, but some for the better, some for the worse, some for the better. So that's just life, and we just hopefully that things in the world and Worcester and Pritchard gets better.
All right, so one of the things I do know about that he probably just didn't share at the moment, but I'm gonna ask him about it, because at the bike trail that's located in Whistler is a site of that has Civil War history as well, and you did share, but how about just sharing a little bit of that with them too?
The last battle, well, Jacob McGee gave a lot of land to the railroad and the cemetery to the people of Worcester, and supposedly the troops came from Spanish Fort, and at the Shirley Sherrick Park, supposedly the troops camped underneath that big oak tree right in the corner of the park, and the last skirmish was up at McGee's farm. They crossed 8 Mile Creek and went up there, and that was the last skirmish of the Civil War. Spanish Fort, I think, was supposedly the last battle of the war, but that was the last skirmish of the Civil War. And that was right where the black cemetery is, there behind Little Brian's fruit stand now, there was a bridge, and that's where they crossed the creek and went up to, Cushla. And, like I say, had the last skirmish of the Civil War. And in the Worcester Cemetery, there's 7 Confederate veterans buried in that cemetery. And one of them is J.J. Grace, which was the doctor in Worcester, and also he was a chaplain in the Confederate Army and the minister of the church in 1868, 1870.
So there's a lot of history that's here in Pritchard, and once again, that we're just so excited about the Christmas tour, particularly in the old Whistler Village, and we look forward to having all of you, the citizens, not only here in the city of Pritchard, but all around, to come and share in such a great event. So thank you all for sharing, and now we will have our president of the tour to share some words with us as well, right?
I'd just like to remind you to please accept the invitation to visit Pritchard on Sunday afternoon. I'd like to point out something that hasn't been mentioned that's a part of our heritage here in Whistler. We have a bona fide actress born and raised in Whistler by the name of Ethel Spraggins Ayler. Ethel Spraggins Ayler is a graduate of Mobile County Training School and Fisk University. Following her graduation from Fisk in 1957, she began her pre-off-Broadway tour. She also played on Broadway that same year as an understudy for Lena Horne. Following many times of showing up on screen, on Broadway, off Broadway, and traveling for 50 years, Ethel Spraggins Ayler was a performer in one media or the other. She is best remembered in this area for the length of time that she played on the Bill Cosby Show, where she played the mother of Bill Cosby's wife. She passed away in 2018 in Loma Linda, California. However, there are relatives who live in the old Whistler area, and the home where she grew up is still there.
Well, there you go. More history in terms of what's really happening in this city. This city has a vast amount of history that's untapped, and many stories that are untold. So this is a great opportunity too to share many of those stories as it relates to the history of this city, and not only for Whistler but the entire city. So once again, we're excited about the Christmas tour of the old Whistler Village, and once again, we invite all of you to come and share with us on that date. And if you would, Pastor, give us the date, time, and place again where all this will occur.
The tour begins at Whistler United Methodist Church at 3102 Whistler Street. The time is from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock p.m. on this Sunday, which will be December the 8th. We will plead with you, please come. Join us. We'd love to have you in our community, in our homes, in our city. You are welcome.
God bless you all. Have a good evening.